My dear companion, we never know which story will touch whom or how, so we should keep learning how to tell our stories effectively and continue sharing them. I will tell a few more stories that I really love to tell. And with that, I will wrap up the topic of stories here. I want you to see my storytelling style, and you can also use these stories yourself, because this is one of the stories I use most frequently. One of them is the story of This Too Shall Pass. I tell this one quite often. A sultan, you see, calls for his vizier. He says, "Make me such a ring that, whenever I look at it, if I have gotten carried away by the flow of life, by luxury or by power, it reminds me to regain my balance." He also says, "If I have fallen very low, if I am in a depressive state, if I am in despair, let it remind me to regain my balance again." So the viziers start thinking. They wonder what to do, whom to ask, but nothing comes to mind. They say, "There is a Sufi in such and such village. Let's ask him, he would know." Anyway, they go to the Sufi. They explain the situation to him. He then writes something on a piece of paper and says, "Take this to the craftsman who will make your ring and have him engrave it." So he writes it down. The ring is made and given to the Sultan. The Sultan says, "Truly," he says, "you have brought me such a ring that it always brings me back into balance." So what happened? What's on the ring? On the ring it says, "This too shall pass." Everything passes. Even the things we thought would never pass. The things we thought would never end. Bad days also pass. Good days also pass. So don't think it won't pass. This too shall pass. Look, this is a story that can touch all of our lives, that can point to all of our lives. Then let me tell you another story. It's about value. I tell this to students a lot. In fact, sometimes I even put it into practice. For example, you can also try this yourself. A university professor was going to give his students a lesson about value. He took out a $100 bill and said, "Who wants to take this bill?" he asked. Everyone raised their hand. Then he crumpled it up. "Who wants it now?" Again, everyone raised their hand. He threw it on the ground and asked, "Who wants it now?" Again, everyone raised their hand. He stepped on it and asked again, "Who wants it now?" Everyone still wanted to take it. Then he said, "Look, even though I crumpled the money, threw it on the ground and stepped on it, the money did not lose any of its value." He said, "You too, after you leave here one day, sometimes you will fall down, you will lie down, you will get covered in mud. Don't think that you are losing any of your value. You will never lose your value. Be aware of this. Even if gold falls into the trash, it is still gold," he said. What a beautiful story for children. Children are already at that age. If you explain it to them in a straightforward sentence, they won't understand it at all. But for example, maybe you can demonstrate this with a 200 lira banknote when you explain it. It's a very beautiful story that will always stay in children's minds. Let me share one last story. I often tell this one when talking about smiling. Sometimes it's a coach, a psychologist, or someone who owns a shop. Let's say they're very grumpy. All right? I can't just say, "Your face is too sour, try to smile a bit." So instead, I say this. There was a man selling honey and another selling pickles. The one selling pickles was doing really well in sales. The one selling honey had very poor sales, and their prices were almost the same. They just couldn't understand it. They kept wondering how, why, and so on. Then, one day, a wise man happened to come by, let's say. He said to the honey seller, "You're selling honey, but your face is selling pickles." The pickle seller replied, "You're selling pickles, but your face is selling honey." He said, "Those who don't know how to smile shouldn't open a shop." Now it turns into something where we smile and laugh together. That way there's no tension at all. That's why you both deliver the message you want to give and reach the person in front of you with a beautiful story. That's it, my dear companion, on this journey. Stories do this for people. Stories affect people this much. They change people this much. Let stories be the thing you have most in your bag. I truly hope that you can find a meaningful story for every single topic. Now see you in another lesson.